Hello and welcome to another episode of Talk of the Boat. I'm your host, Robert Yazbek with Team Yazbek at Coldwell Banker. And today I have the wonderful opportunity to hang out with the amazing president of the Colorado Crane Conservation Coalition, Miss Nancy Merrill, and program director, Erin Gelling. Based here in Steamboat Springs, the Cccc was formed in May of 2012 and has worked tirelessly to conserve and protect the Rocky Mountain population of Greater Sandhill Cranes. Nancy and Erin, we thank you for your time, your tireless work for the Sandhill Cranes, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. We just saw you ladies at Impact 100 not long ago, so congratulations on being one of the top 3 finalists there.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and what brought you to the Yampa Valley.
So I came to the Yampa Valley about a year after college. And like most people, I came for the skiing and snowboarding and worked at the ski resort for the first couple winters. And then the Yampa Valley curse kind of took hold of me, and I stuck around and continued to get more involved with organizations and stuff in the Yampa Valley. And here I am. Now I'm working for Cccc.
Excellent. How long you been in town?
Since 2010, so about 12 years now.
Perfect.
And I started working with I started volunteering with Cccc in 2014.
Okay, excellent.
So we came here, I came here with my family for skiing, like so many other people. And we started coming in the late 80s.
Wow.
And caught the Yampa Valley curse, bought a condo, and for many years spent all our vacations out here. We were from the Chicago area, so this was quite a change. Yeah. And the more we started coming out, the more we wanted to be here full time. And we made a wonderful connection with the Nature Conservancy here. And they helped us find some property in the Yampa Valley, which turned out to be sort of the center of the crane staging area in Hayden. And so we bought the property, and next thing you know, we were living here full time. In the early 2000s, we moved here. Perfect. And the birds and cranes have been sort of the heart of our mission here in the Yampa Valley, although we love the skiing and the hiking and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Not to downplay the ski area, but it's about the cranes. That's good. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. So tell us about your passion for birds and their habitat and what makes the Greater Sandhill Cranes so important to protect.
So I actually grew up in New Jersey, although I did not really bird in New Jersey. Okay. But that's where I went to school, and then I went to school for ecology. And so I kind of got introduced to birds just kind of doing like summer jobs. And but it wasn't until probably my 3rd year doing birding work I was actually near Chicago, near Illinois, and I started getting absolutely fascinated by birds. And then I started birding all the time. And so that's kind of what really got me hooked. And so when I came here and I heard about the Yampa Valley Crane Festival, and I started volunteering with them, and then I had not really seen cranes before then. Oh, okay. But I mean, they're just such incredible birds. They're huge. They're loud. I mean, it's not like trying to find a little warbler in the trees. They make their presence known, and I think that is just really, really cool about them. And they're ancient, and they have all these fascinating behaviors I'm still learning about. And so the more I work with them, the more I am fascinated by them.
Neat. Love it. How about you, Nancy?
So I was not a birder till late in life, actually. Okay. When my younger child left the nest, then I had time to do something other than my work, which my work was actually as a family therapist. Oh, okay. So I got involved with birding and loved it. It got me outside. It got me connected with nature. I made so many wonderful friendships through the birding community. And then when I came out here, as I said, the cranes happened to be in my yard. And so I was completely smitten with them. And then when there was a proposal to allow a hunt of the cranes in our area, I suddenly became an advocate for the cranes. It wasn't in the game plan, but we felt that there wasn't a reason to hunt these birds.
Sure.
They're still considered a tier 1 species of concern in Colorado. They were a state endangered bird in the 1970s, and so that became my mission. And the good news about that is that as my vision has gotten worse, I can still see the cranes.
I love it. That's interesting. I love how you stumbled into it, geographically there and that sort of thing. And now I understand the point where you really got serious about protecting the cranes. That makes a lot of sense. I grew up with some cranes in Florida, a different subspecies, right?
Right.
But sandhill cranes, big sandhill cranes, and I don't know if you're gonna like this or not, but we used to actually feed them hot dogs. They would walk up to us in the yard, and we would feed them hot dogs as little kids.
Yeah, the cranes in Florida become like pets. They're people love them, having them in their yard, and they're protected, and so they get to be very calm and around people and comfortable.
Yeah, so I remember the sounds, and it was a big deal for my family to spot the cranes and listen for them and feed them hot dogs. So, sorry if that was not the appropriate diet for them. But.
Well, our cranes here are a little different. They tend to stay away from people much more than the Florida cranes.
Okay.
And one of the reasons for that, actually, it's interesting, one of the reasons for that is they are hunted in every state in their range. The cranes here are part of a subspecies called the Rocky Mountain Greater Sandhill Cranes.
Right.
And they live their whole life in the Rocky Mountains. They breed in the northern Rocky Mountain states, including the Yampa Valley. And they spend the winter in the southern Rocky Mountain states. And they are actually hunted in every state but Colorado. So they do stay away from people because they've learned that's not a good place to be.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so we're pretty special here because we really look out for those birds.
That's perfect. So tell us about that. Tell us about the story and history of cranes and Steamboat, and why has the Yampa Valley become a crane nesting sanctuary?
You want me to take that one? Well, cranes have been around the Yampa Valley and northwest Colorado, since ancient times. There's stone carvings that the Indians did, petroglyphs and so on, that show cranes. So they've been around here for a long time, but they were back in the early 20th century, mid 20th century. They were hunted. There was a lot of habitat loss as people moved in, and they were down to about 25 pairs here in Colorado. At which point,
in the whole state,
these Rocky Mountain Greater Sandhill Cranes, this flock that we have here, there were only about 25 pairs in the area.
In the 1970s.
Okay.
Yeah, and so at that point they were declared a state endangered bird, and measures were taken to protect them and try and protect their habitat. Mm-hmm. They weren't hunted anymore, and they were allowed to repopulate, essentially. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that we have them here, that we're so lucky to have them here, cranes only are found in certain areas where conditions are just right. We have the Yampa Valley, we have the Yampa River, lots of wetlands, which is great areas for them to breed. Mm-hmm. And then in the late summer, early fall, we have waste grain crops, wheat, oats, barley, which the cranes then fatten up on before they migrate south. So we have all the right conditions, and we have a population of people that love the cranes. Yes. They like having them in their fields or in their wetlands. We get calls and reports all the time from people who are very excited about it. So I think the community overall loves them, and the conditions are right for them.
That's great.
And we're actually at the southern edge of their breeding range. So they actually breed, our flock breeds from northwest Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, and even a little bit into Canada. So yeah, so we have just the right conditions at the southern edge of their breeding range for them.
Neat. So what's the count now? From 25 pairs in the 70s to, do you have a rough estimate now?
That's a great question. And it's something that,
I was just curious, yeah.
Yeah, that's something is, I mean,
Yeah.
we estimate that the flock here, that breeds here is around 1,200 birds. And there are what we call a bachelor flock of birds, but birds that are too young to breed that are also in the area that spend their time here in the spring and summer. But it's been years and years since a real count has been done of the population, and it's one of the things our organization is planning to do this fall, is to do Erin's going to lead the way on this, but to set up a scientific count of when the birds are at their peak. Colorado Parks and Wildlife does do a count later in the fall, but by the time of their count, many of our cranes have left already.
Okay.
So they do a count for the whole Rocky Mountain area.
Gotcha.
And we're going to be doing the count just for this kind of area in the Yampa Valley.
Perfect. That's exciting. We'll look forward to seeing those results. So CCC is a nonprofit, of course, and you mentioned the community. So what role does education play in the nonprofit and in the community?
A huge role.
Yeah.
Huge role. In order to conserve a species and help it and protect it, you have to have education, right? People have to know about it, and people that know about it and they care about cranes are the more likely to want to conserve them and their habitat. So,
sure.
A big basis of our organization is education, and so that's a lot of, we spend a lot of time raising awareness around cranes, educating the public, and we do that through all sorts of different avenues. So for just creating awareness, we have different contests for all ages, like our first crane sitting contest in the spring. We have our Creative Arts Scholarship Contest for high school seniors. We have a new poster contest that's going on now for middle school age students. And so that's just kind of like creating awareness. And then we have the actual education piece, which is we do a third grade presentation to all Yampa Valley third graders. It's a really fun interactive presentation. We go into the schools and we talk about cranes.
Nice.
We also have our Yampa Valley Crane Festival, which is our biggest educational event, which goes on in the fall over Labor Day weekend. And that we bring people out to go crane viewing and bird walks and speakers and all sorts of amazing events around there. Am I missing anything?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys do a lot. Yeah, that's huge.
Erin leads some walks with Yampatika in the summer where we take people out to look at to find the cranes, look at the cranes and so on.
Sure.
We've taken field trips with some of the high school biology classes. And we offer, and to any organization that wants it, we offer a crane education program. So we've done programs for senior groups, and anyone who wants one can request it, and we're just happy to get the word out about our cranes.
That's incredible.
The other big education thing that we're doing now, it's in our second season, is our crane nest camera, our live stream nest camera.
Yes.
That we can talk about in a little bit, but that's also part of our education piece now.
Nice. Yes, I'm looking forward to asking you about that. So that's a lot of stuff that you guys do. How many people are involved in the nonprofit?
So we have one full-time staff person, Erin, and we have about 85 volunteers.
Wow.
That help out in all kinds of ways. We are really a volunteer-based organization.
That's incredible.
And we have volunteers that have been with us from the beginning, since 2012. And then every year we add some more volunteers, and they help us with our third grade programs. They help us with our contests, help us a lot with the festival because we have so many people, attendees for so many events, and the volunteers really are the backbone of our organization.
That's great. I'm excited for my daughter to get some education next year. She's going into third grade.
All right.
Yeah, we need
and we're
to
always
follow up.
looking for more volunteers.
Perfect. Excellent. Maybe we can find some
Yes,
here in the show today.
Put the word out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So yeah, you mentioned the crane nest camera. And in fact, the gentleman that is videoing right now, that does a lot of video for us, Matthew at Photo Syndicate Productions, Photon Syndicate Productions, my apologies, was the guy that set up the crane camera, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We're very indebted to Matthew. We could not have done this project without him.
Yeah, it's so great that he's now filming us doing
Right.
a little show here.
Yeah. So Matthew was really the one instrumental in setting up the live stream and setting up the camera in the field and really doing all the logistics behind that so that everybody can view it. And
yeah.
But there's
So what started it, and how's it been going? You're two seasons in, right?
Kind of a fun story about how it got started.
Okay.
So we noticed that there was a crane family that came to a wheat field in Hayden. I'll say that I don't want to give away the location exactly,
That's
but
right.
in the Greater Hayden area.
Absolutely.
In 2019.
Okay.
It showed up in the fall and with a colt, with a young bird, and hung out in that field. And we thought that was kind of interesting. And then the next year, in the spring, that a pair of cranes, probably the same pair, we're pretty sure, came back to that field and ate there. When they first came back in March, they would show up every day at the field and forage around for food. And then one day only one showed up. And so we knew that the other one must be nesting. And we did a little search of the area. Sure enough, from a distance, we were very careful, we spotted the crane nest.
Okay.
And we know that crane pairs tend to come back to the same area year after year to nest. They like being in the same neighborhood. They kind of know what the lay of the land is. They feel safe there.
Sure.
So in 2020, that pair nested and in the same area, had 2 chicks, and we watched it took pictures and photos and so on, and thought, these birds are going to come back in 2021, and we're going to get a nest camera up there.
Yes.
So that was how the idea got started. But we had no idea how to do that. None of us were techie.
Right.
And we just fortunately stumbled upon Matthew.
I remember talking to him about it back then too.
Right.
He was trying to figure it out. It sounded like quite the trial and error, technical challenge.
Right.
So.
It was totally that.
That's really
But Matthew got it immediately. He understood it, and he was willing to experiment and willing to put a lot of his own time in it. I mean, he was more than generous in terms of giving us the time we needed to figure it all out. So sure enough, in 2021, they came back and they nested next to the crane camera, which was the most amazing thing of all.
And we didn't even tell them to do that.
Right? Yeah, nobody instructed them. That's beautiful. And so you're going to do it again. Now it's dialed, and you plan on doing it next year as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. That's beautiful. Excellent. So you've got the Yampa Valley Crane Festival coming up soon.
Yeah.
You said that's one of your biggest events, biggest educational events. Tell us about that. Yeah. What is it? When is it? How do we get involved?
So we're working on getting the schedule up on the website right now.
Okay.
So the schedule will be up Friday, July 1st.
Perfect.
And registration begins July 15th.
Okay.
And the festival itself occurs over Labor Day weekend. So this year it is September 1 through 4th.
Nice.
We have speakers from, all over the world sometimes. We have films, we have bird walks, we have crane viewings, of course, because we have to go see the cranes.
Yeah.
We have different types of workshops and like fun educational things. We have kids activities. So it's really, there's a lot of stuff for locals and people to come in and get to experience the Yampa Valley. So we do a lot with it. Some of our speakers this year, we have a Rocky Mountain Sandhill crane expert from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Dan Collins, is going to be our keynote this year.
Nice.
And so I'm really excited about that. We have a whooping crane expert from the International Crane Foundation.
Okay.
Coming. We have Chris Wood is the eBird director. So I don't know if you know what eBird is, but eBird is this enormous citizen science project to record birds. And so that'll be really exciting. We have crane experts. We have Ted Floyd, who's with Birding Magazine, who leads bird walks for us. So a lot of really great people And we're showing a couple of films this year, Birds of America, Hargala, which is about this crazy conservation story in India, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And Cranes of the Rockies will be another film. Did I forget a speaker?
Wow.
Yes, we have one, Al Batt, who is kind of interesting. He's a wonderful, humorous radio show host on birds. I mean, he has a whole following. He does columns in a birding magazine, and he's written a book called A Life Gone to Birds. And he will, we always try to get at least one sort of author or different kind of personality rather than a scientist is one of our speakers. So it has a broad appeal for everyone who's really into birding to people who are just getting into nature and birding.
Sure.
And one thing I will say, like all the speakers, there's a lot of events that are free.
Okay.
Like speakers are free, and we, want to keep this, a low cost event so that people can, all kinds of people can access it. Some events like the crane viewings and the bird walks, because they have limited registration or limited numbers, so we do require registration for that. But you can also come and do a lot of stuff for free as well. So
neat. And multiple locations, or is it all kind of?
It's mostly based in Steamboat. A lot of the crane viewing is out in Hayden because that's where the cranes stage.
We do have 2 events in Craig. We have a bird walk in Craig. We're going to show the film at the theater at Craig. And lots of events in Hayden. The headquarters are at the Bud Warner Library in Steamboat.
Okay. Perfect.
Altogether, we have about 45 different events going on over the 4 days. So it's crazy. It's busy.
That is crazy. That's amazing.
One of the events that I wanted to mention is we have on the first Friday art walk, we participate with, we have our yard art cranes on display. We have 25 artists who decorate these cranes, and then we auction them off. And we're going to have the broadband playing, and that's a free event. People can come and see the cranes, and there really are some amazingly creative crane creations.
Yeah, I love it. And that's at the library as well?
Right, the library lawn on Friday evening.
Perfect. I look forward to that. That's excellent. So that sounds like a really big deal. I'm blown away and excited to take part.
Great. Yeah, bring your
absolutely.
family.
I will, indeed. My kids would love that, so thank you.
Oh, and one other thing.
Please.
There's more. There's more. So we always have a live raptor booth.
Oh, yes.
Nature's Educators, which is a raptor education center in Colorado, brings their birds, and people can get up close and visit with them. And then we also, and that's for free, that's all day Saturday at the library.
Great.
And then we also have a special photo workshop with these birds. We have a professional photographer, Chris Becchia, who helps with that, but people get a chance to take photos of 5 or 6 different raptors up close in kind of a natural setting.
Wow.
So that's a really fun and great event because you learn a lot about the birds. The Nature's Educator talks about each of the birds and their different habits and behavior and so on. And you get a chance, even if you're just an iPhone photographer, you get a chance to take some great photos.
Sure. That's neat. I love it. I love your passion for this too, by the way. That's awesome. And I'm sure that's why you have such a big following and so many volunteers, and you're, so ingrained in the community. So thank you. So what are the important next steps for CCCC?
Good question. We are always coming up with new ideas, but we would, as I mentioned earlier, we'd really like to do a survey of the cranes and get a better feel for how many birds really are here, because our goal, our mission is to have a population of cranes here that's either growing or at least sustained in their numbers.
Perfect.
So being able to take part in that is one of our goals. We also hope to improve breeding habitat for the cranes. We're going to be involved with the Sustainability Council and the Forest Service and working on a project for breeding, improving breeding areas for the cranes up in California Park.
Wow.
So that's a goal that we have. So, we really hope to help with that. And then very exciting and brand new on the horizon, our organization has just leased some property in Hayden where we will be growing crops for cranes for them in the fall. Because one of the concerns we have at this point about the cranes is that the amount of acreage being grown in grain crops has greatly decreased in the Yampa Valley. It's for economic reasons. More people are growing hay and alfalfa.
Right.
And the cranes really rely on the waste grain crops, the grains that are left in the field after the harvest. They really rely on that for nutrition prior to migration.
Gotcha.
And so we are planning to kind of create a little crane sanctuary, we hope, where the cranes can stage in the fall and really get the nutrition that they need. So that's a big project, a new project that we're taking on.
Very nice.
And then always we want more people to know about the cranes. We want everyone in the Yampa Valley to know about our cranes and what beautiful, iconic, ancient birds they are, and to want to protect them and keep them here for our children and grandchildren to enjoy.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So how do people connect with you all and your organization and volunteer, donate, get involved?
Yeah, so we're always looking for new volunteers.
Okay.
So come volunteer with us.
Yeah.
You can
go to the website.
You can visit our website, coloradocranes.org.
Okay, perfect. We'll post that down below.
Awesome. And you can sign up for our email newsletter on our website. You can sign up to volunteer. You can visit us on our Facebook page, like us on Facebook, Colorado Crane Conservation Coalition. Like us on Instagram, or follow us on Instagram, Colorado Cranes, and follow us on our YouTube channel as well. So,
or shoot us an email at info@coloradocranes.org.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Lots of ways to get in touch with us. So don't be shy. Reach on out. We're always looking for new people.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the work you're doing with the cranes. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Talk of the Boat. We'll see you next week. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe, like, and share with somebody else you think might enjoy it. Also, if you have any real estate related questions that you'd like us to answer on the air, please send that to us, either direct message, text, or email, whatever works for you. And as always, if you have any real estate needs that we can help you with, or just questions you'd like to strategize about, whether buying or selling, please contact us. Thank you.